Welcome to my series of tutorials for DoW2 Elite mod. The game main screen you can see here. I do assume you already installed the game and therefore watched. If you didn't do it by yourself, you may have watched the video by Torpid. If you haven't installed yet, I recommend you watch that. The link should be flying in as an info card right now, if I did this correctly on YouTube. Why would you want to play this game? It is a RTS, so real-time strategy game, which there aren't too good ones out recently. The big era of RTS is over. And for me personally, it finished with this game, and this is the peak of this area. A lot of people obviously think StarCraft 2 is better, and it is very good. But people have their own feelings about that, and some people prefer this and that. So me and a lot of other people prefer this game. What's the perks? Well, this one is more of a real-time tactics game, as some would say. So most similar to Warcraft 3, where you have fewer units but have to micro them more intensively. That being said, it is not a very micro-intensive game. You don't need the amount of APM to play this on a decent level as you would need for StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3. So it is boomer friendly, slow all the brains will enjoy. And of course, it's Warhammer 40k, and that's just a superior universe. Let's be honest here. So it's made for adults, not that 12-year-old stuff as Warcraft and StarCraft with all the comic-y graphics and the like. That's Dawn of War 2. Why do people play Elite mod? Well, the original game was laid off by Relic, no more support since I think 2013, something like that. And there's still a lot of bugs and balance issues in the original game. So this mod just took what was left by Relic and kept improving it, but stayed very close to the original game. So most of it, best things it does is the balance fixing, and the mod also fixed a lot of bugs that were still in the game. Mostly the small fixes integrated, so there's no more sound bug, for example, which is especially a terrible one. And the mod and the original game do share the general chat. I would advise to never read that because there's some lunatics in there doing weird stuff. So maybe just minimize that like that. So as I said, I assume you installed as Torpid explained. Let me have, there's 3 points about that I'll have to make, because it is a little outdated what he said. If you're looking for the right game to buy, and this doesn't work with pirated copies, so you do need to buy something. The problem is Dawn of War 2 and its expansions, Chaos Rising and Retribution, are not for sale separately anymore. You will need to look for Dawn of War 2, for example, and all you will find is this Anniversary Edition. That one does include all the expansion packs, and what we need is Retribution. So if you buy that and install Retribution, the mod will work, and you can go about with the installer as Torpid explained. That's one point I needed to make. And small fix is now included. That one Torpid still explains how to install it. You don't need to worry about that anymore. And then there's one additional thing I wanted to tell you, that if you go to the options and the game options, the advanced sub selection, while Torpid argued that he sees some point in it, I have played with advanced sub selection for most of my years in Dawn of War 2, and it just made me worse. It made me blob a lot, so my units have been together too much, being vulnerable to AoE attacks. And if you really go through it and do the math, you will see that you actually need more clicks and button presses to do the same actions that you would otherwise do without advanced sub-selection. So I would very much advise to not use that and even put it off. All right. So you now have installed the game, and the next thing would be to look for lobbies. So if you want to play campaign, don't do it in the mod. You start the usual games via Steam and not your Elite Mod desktop exe. What you can do here is play. No, I don't need a tutorial. You see that this guy is different than usual. This would be the Inquisitor in normal campaign. Therefore, here you can start an Automalius endless campaign. Could compare it to the Last Stand mod a little. You can play this cooperative as 2 people, as like the other campaign, or play it alone. It's a nice little gimmick Elite mod added. But the main thing about Elite mod is the multiplayer. And there, do not use find game. No one uses it because the map pool is horrific and the modders can't yet change it. Therefore, we are bound to use custom games. In the Army Painter, of course, you can paint your models. And in the game history, you can watch replays. And that's about it. Do not look into the player statistic. They are all messed up, as you can see here, with X's, and it just nothing works right anymore. And same with the leaderboard. This is basically from, I don't even know if this is retail or elite, but you see the skill rating is all messed up and nothing works here. So just don't use these things. You can just watch replays here. And what you mainly will always click, like you go into the game, you minimize general chat, you go to multiplayer, custom games, and public. Private is sometimes bugged. So even if you want a private game against bots or something, it's usually better to just go into private. And if you don't want to join the lobbies you have there, which you could do by double clicking or clicking, marking them and clicking join, you don't want to join that because it's not your level or anything. You host your own, and if it's a private one, just call it private. And most people will refrain from joining you. So if you want to play against AI, you just add an easy computer or whatever. So that's that, or you just wait for people to join. You can open the observers as I just did there if you want to allow people to join as observers, all that stuff. Now you can actually reopen the chat and it will have the match chat. So only someone in this lobby can actually text there. Do not open general. Yeah, so we've got a lobby. The first thing you want to look at is the victory condition. Standard one is victory point control with 500 points. That's how this game is usually played. That's what Elite Mod is balanced around. And usually you don't need the other game modes. I will still go through them. Annihilate is without victory points, you need to destroy the enemy's base. This is not what this game is made for. I would advise against that. The games take ages and it's usually quite impossible to actually kill an enemy base. It would just get super abusive and boring for everyone. Then there's free-for-alls where you can, well, play a free-for-all, basically. Also with victory points. Team free-for-all where you can play 2 against 2 against 2 or something like that. And, well, victory point control as we've seen earlier. What else? Then there is Hero Assault as victory point control and Annihilate. In Hero Assault, you start with all 3 heroes but less pop, so it's just a more hero-focused mod. For those who enjoy that, it's more like a fun mod. No one seriously plays that, and it's not balanced at all. Same with Massive Battles. That one is a little less off the hook. You have victory points, a little higher victory points, and you will have higher pop, so your armies can get bigger. You also have more resource income, also emphasizes to buy more units and have a bigger army. That's why it's called Massive Battle. And there's Sandbox mode, usually used by the devs or for testing purposes. There you have no buy times, so everything's there instantly and you can play around with it. Usually used together with higher resources, so you actually have the resources to pump out the stuff you want. And then there is night fighting. Night fighting is the same as usual 1v1 victory point control, but the vision radius of all the units is way smaller, so it's another fun mode. Obviously, it helps melee units a lot because they can't easily be fired upon on approach because no one sees them. And then there is tabletop mode. This one's quite fun. There you will get 1 minute to build your dream army with the resources you have. And after that, there's no more building or reinforcing, and it's just the existing army against existing army. Much like you would play in the tabletop, where you can't field additional troops. The only way to field additional troops is by using the global abilities that all the factions have. That one is fun and can also be played against AI, but I will not go further into all these things. Victory point control with 500 points standard. This one would be a very fast game, and this one super long game. No one really plays those. Starting locations are usually put to random. Sometimes in tourneys you play with fixed positions. That means you know exactly where which player is starting. In this case, I'm 1, so I will start in the position number 1, and the computer will start in the position number 2. This is way more important when you go on 3v3s, for example. What do we have? Let's say this one, and you have a lot of players. Then, of course, you want if this is a tourney and the players know each other, sometimes you want one player to be in the middle between the others, and you want to know who takes the flanks. In that case, with fixed starting locations, right now I will start here, and if I want to start in the middle and be flanked by the two computers to, I don't know, protect me, allow me to tech or whatever, then now I would spawn here. That's the starting locations, but in 1v1 we mostly go random because some maps aren't super symmetrical, and therefore knowing what position you start could enable you to have an advantage. For example, what comes to mind, DoW Frontier is not very symmetrical because here is a little building and that one is more to the side of number 1, and therefore well, this can either be an advantage for number 2 if he actually gets there faster and gets weapon demon side or something, or it can just be an advantage for number 1 if both units are the same speed because it's just easier to get there faster from position 1. Yeah, that's the starting location. And you have starting resources with a standard resource, which is obviously what most people play. And high resources is basically you can field whatever the fuck you want, and the game will probably end before you run out of resources. So that's, you could also say, almost infinite resources. High resources also in this mod gives you the global resource at maximum amount, so you can, as soon as you reach tier 3, use your nuke, for example. The ultimate ability global. That would be so much for hosting a lobby. If you want to change your race, this slot, well, you've seen how you can open observers, how you can add computers, open slots if you want to kick someone, or close the slot if you want to kick someone. You can add computers and invite friends in. And, well, move to slots as explained before. If you want to change your race, you can even either click select hero here, or just click onto your portrait. There you have races, 7. That is, Elite Mod did add the 7th race, Autumnalius, sometimes also called Grey Knights, but that's not quite correct because they do have some units that are not Grey Knight, and even 2 heroes that are more Inquisition or any other kind of Imperial group. Like this assassin is not a Grey Knight, and so is the Demon Hunter. He is more of an Inquisitor, I think. Not that good with the lore, so excuse me if I said something entirely wrong. Here you choose your race, and then you can choose between 3 heroes for each race. So if you pick the Space Marines, there is the Force Commander as offensive, Apothecary, the Tech Marine. Yes, usually an Apothecary or Tech Marine is not quite the same level as Force Commander, but again, lore stuff, Relic didn't care about that, and the mod was not willing to change these and make it, I don't know, Chief Apothecary or Chief Tech Marine. That would come a little closer in rank to a Force Commander. It is what it is. This is how you select your hero, by putting ready, and if you want to play random, you just click random there. What else is there to say about this before we go into the actual in-game situation in the next videos? Maybe we should talk about the ESL ladder. So while the in-game ladder is completely useless, if you go to the main page of the mod, which is this dawnofwar.info, you will be able to download this ESL reporter. If you download and start it, that looks like this. Currently empty because I haven't played a match. When you will play a match, it will show up here and it will automatically save your replay and also give the data into the ladder. The ladder can be seen here when you click on ladder. Surprise. And there we have, well, a good old ladder with rating and record and win rate, stuff like that. Sadly, even though this is a little more advanced than the in-game thing that's just entirely bugged by now, and for retail, this one, it works, but it has some problems with people being dormant for a long time, not playing. If you haven't been there for a long time and then play, you have a very easy time to get up in the ladder very fast. That makes the whole thing very problematic. And also, since you can pick who you play against, some people are very abusive and, well, Max here, for example, um, basically just try to play people that are less good than they are. They bash noobs all the time and therefore slowly rise up in ladder. So this guy not actually placed third in skill. Everyone else around here is good, actually, not so much him. So don't value this ladder too high because it can be abused, and if someone does, he will get a high rank, although he isn't quite that good. Let's see. Oh, look, I'm currently ranking list 31. That's how it goes. See, here we have a quite good player, quite high level, and he as well is 27. It's just if you don't care who you play against and you play against mostly better people, then you sometimes will drop down, while others that play people that are considerably lower than they may rise up. So there is this ladder, but most people really just use the ESL reporter to automatically save all the replays. All the replays that are saved will by the ESL reporter will go here on the main page. So no, not this one. This is the forum posts. Here, for example, 1 hour ago, Sensei and Dork played and someone had ESL reporter on and therefore it got locked here. All these replays you can look at. Oh, let's look at this one. Wow, okay. So a 3-minute replay and Floyd lost to Smacks. I doubt it. I would say Floyd is better and would never lose in 3 minutes. Oh no, it's actually, sorry, it's a 31-minute game. Okay, interesting. So maybe Smacks actually got a lucky punch there on Floyd and won that. Who knows? But we could download it and look at it in our, we could put it in our replay folder and watch the game in-game as a replay, for example. So that's what the ESL reporter does for you. Well, the player base, since this all, well, since the game has been there for a long time, is basically divided in newcomers and people that have been there for years. Most of the time, it doesn't make sense for these to play each other unless the newcomer is quite experienced and learned quite fast. So when you join, you should look at the game names. Usually people put in the game name where they are. This one is mid to high skill. So if you're quite new and have played less than, let's say, 100 games, you probably should not join this. because all the people inside there are way more experienced, and you may be a liability for your team. Actually, if they don't know you and player base isn't that big, so most people know each other, and you join that, they will probably kick you because they know you're new and you're not quite at that skill level. They will mostly look into your hours, like into your Steam account, like this, their profile. They would scroll down and see that I have 2,000 hours at this game. Therefore, they can assume that I am actually somewhat experienced and will not be a pure punching bag, basically feeding the enemy team. And therefore, they would probably accept me in their game. So, what do you do if you're new? You don't join these. You make your own or join low lobbies. You can also join our Discord. Again, you may do this by dawnofwar.info. Pull it back up where you have this Discord button, and if you click on that, it will invite you to our community Discord like that. What else do we have? Tournaments is super outdated. Forum no one uses anymore for discussions, only for tournament announcement and stuff like that. But you will find all of that in our Discord. Just use the Discord if you want to engage with the community. I showed you Ladder. CODEX, however, is interesting. Here you can look up a lot of stuff, all the units. I will try to go through this briefly and probably show you all the time. But for now, we can go into Space Marine units and look into the Tier 1 Tactical Marine Squad. There you will see a lot of stats of the units, the costs, how they level, all their weapons, so for all upgrades too, their abilities and their upgrades. So this is like a little Wikipedia if you want to look something up. Okay. In the Discord, you will be set to the rules at the start. And if you then go into roles like this and tell us your time zone if you want, and here you can choose your skill level from beginner, initiate, intermediate, and expert. And if you start, you should get beginner and maybe intermediate as well. You can also have multiple ones. And after that, you can go into looking for games and then just add beginner like this. And then, I don't know, 1v1, anyone, and send it. And everyone with a beginner tag will get a ping and therefore know that there's another beginner looking for games. And you can then find them. In my case, before I started this, I sent out a request to intermediate, no one answered, so I had the time to start with the tutorials instead of actually playing. This is the other way to just find games. First one would be to just go into the game and look for lobbies. The 3v3 we've seen earlier has by now started, it seems. As you've seen, sometimes in a 3v3 lobby, you have to wait for quite some time to fill it up. It's different in 1v1. It either starts quite quickly because you only need one person to join, or it never starts at all because there's just no one around. There are probably a few less people playing 1v1s compared to 3v3s, but still, most of the time they fill up faster and you get to game faster. I'm personally an enjoyer of 1v1s, but you do as you want. 1v1s take a broader set of skills, I would say, because well, it's less army versus army fights all the time and more all over the map action. Um, Timings and counters are more important, while in 3v3 you mostly go for the army composition you desire and not quite look what your opponent on the lane does that much, because you will occasionally fight the other team members of the enemy team too, and then if your composition is specially made to counter your enemy, you may suffer against the others. The balance is made for 1v1 too, so 1v1 balance may be a little better. And well, in 1v1 there's less need to deal with people. And I don't know how you go about that, but I personally hate people. I mean, they are the worst, okay? Don't misunderstand me. I need them to play against me, but apart from that, stay away from me, okay? And then there is what can I say about the 3v3 mode though? Well, it gets interesting if you have people to play with, so you can abuse synergies between the armies and between heroes. On the other hand, people can be fun as well, and if you have fun people, of course 3v3 is more fun than 1v1. It's just do whatever you like. I think 1v1 are better to learn the game faster, so I would like to encourage you to do that. As a last point of this first tutorial video, let me say one thing that may be general in RTS. We all tilt, we all have a bad day, we all lose 3 games in a row and just say, fuck this shit, I want to uninstall. That happens. Just cool down the way you know you cool down best. Drink a tea, go smoke, play something else, stop playing entirely, and come back tomorrow. What else? What is a very bad way is to go into a balance discussion and just say everything my opponent did is OP as fuck. Why does this race even exist? Please fix. People will not be able to take you seriously, and yeah, it's just a rather childish reaction, because people have played this for many years. The balance is very refined, and especially in 1v1 there is almost no reason to blame balance, especially if you're playing on a lower level, lower to mid level. There is no reason to blame balance. There's always a way to win. And so if you have that thought, maybe look into the game again and think, what could I have been done differently? I would advise to watch the replay, which is automatically saved either in the temp rec or in the ESL reporter. If you have that running, watch that, watch it twice even, and if you don't see any mistake you did and think the enemy had it so easy, then you can go and ask in the Discord. We have the strategy discussion, and there people will be glad to help you and tell you what you could have done differently. You can even post the replay and have other people watch it. They will tell you, try to coach you and tell you what you can do it better next time. So on my level, whenever I lose, it's because my opponent did better, and I'm quite sure of that after all these years. Um, that's the last thing I wanted to say. And with that, the first tutorial video ends. Next video, I will go over the HUD in-game, what all the icons do, stuff like that. We finally get some in-game action. And later on, we will look into mechanics. And I think I will even find the time to explain every single unit, their roles, their weaknesses, their strength, and what you can do. And in the end of all these tutorial videos, I hope You go into some advanced stuff like tactics and combos, timings, all of that. All right. I think I will cut it here for the YouTubes and just found a mid game. Nice.